Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the fishing wheel again and knife making. Today I want to talk about handles, and if you like this video please like and subscribe. Any comments are really welcome, because I think through comments on YouTube or internet in general we can learn from each other. So let's get to it. I noticed that a lot of knife handles are made. If you imagine that this is your blade, your rough blade, and then you put your wood left and right. Of course you drill your holes through first. You use this side, drill through, right, then put it aside, put the next one on. Just make sure it's aligned here all the way around. You drill the other one through, it's fine, and then it's going to end up something like that, where actually the metal of your handle or your raw knife is exposed, and you start shaping it. So it really doesn't matter if the grain matches up or not, except of course in the front it has to be the same. And then you just beat your brass cross members through, and this is your handle. So let's forget about this idea for now. What if you want something like that? The dagger I made earlier. You want the grain actually to match, and as you can see, the width of the blade is the same than the width of the handle. So I made this handle earlier for my Tachima pull saw. See, the idea is the same. The handle gets actually inlaid, or let's say that the metal part of the handle of the saw gets inlaid in a new wooden handle. Okay. So what I found is, first of all, you probably need to notch that out a little bit. On this one, I actually notched all four sides, or they are reset, I guess you can say, reset. So this I did only on two sides. I think it's enough. Makes the handle really heavy. It's a long blade, and I'm probably going to go with a bigger, longer handle anyway. So I have this piece of wood. It's a piece of curly mahogany. I don't know if you can actually specifically order that, but if you order mahogany, every once in a while you get those fancy pieces. Now notice I have a triangle there, or a pyramid. So I know this piece, was one piece at some point. I just put it through my bandsaw, and see if you clamp this hard enough, the seam is almost invisible. This seam is always visible, but you have to make sure that it's really the same all the way around. It can be this or that, like you would get. In this case, it doesn't really matter if one sticks up or down, or is a little bit off. But in this case, if you want something like that, you really need to stick with the grain. It cannot be off this way, that way, or this way, or any way at all. Otherwise it won't fit anymore. Your cut won't fit, and the seam is more visible at the end. So how did we do this? And for that I'm going to bring you over to the drill press. Just hold on a second. Alright guys, this is my drill press. I figure after you spend $800 or $1,000 on a 72-inch belt grinder, and probably at $200 to $300 on a half-decent drill press like I did, you don't want to spend another $800 on a 3/4 horsepower plunger outer with a table. It would make it a little bit easier, but you know what, the drill press will work. So I'm going to handhold the camera for this here for a little while. So this goes all the way up by itself. You can keep it from going up. You only can keep it from going down if you adjust this here. But this is not our concern right now. We do all the adjustments actually with the table. Okay, we go left, and right, and this is a very easy way, inexpensive way. All you need is a couple of pieces of wood that are kind of parallel to each other. Just make sure back there you got the clearance here between your piece of wood and the column, that you actually can move back and forth. And also make sure here in the back that there's enough space between the crank and your board so you can crank up and down. I would assume some of you probably knew that already, some don't. I'm just mentioning it. Well, some mistakes I made, and you set up, you spend an hour to set it up and get it right. Now there's another thing, the way it's angled is on purpose, because if you have your piece this way, for example, angling, and you move the table back and forth, you're not really getting a lot of sideways movement. If you go this way and you move the table back and forth, you get a lot of sideways movement, but of course you can't, because then your fence, your parallel fence, will touch the column, and then it's not going to work. So I figured I do it in an angle close enough to the column, and it gives me enough movement here, and I'm going to show you how that works. And it's just as I mentioned before, the triangle shows me the way my pieces were at the very beginning before I split them, so I don't get them confused like this way or that way. So it's really important to actually mark your work pieces. And if you have several pieces, if you do a triangle or a pyramid, you will always find them back together no matter what. There's no question, there's no doubt about it. So this is the way it goes. So if I flip that open, I want to actually router in half of the thickness in here and half of it here, but I gotta make sure they're in the same spot so the grain will align again. So obviously I took that blade, I put it on the way I think I want it, parallel to the top edge. There's a lot of beef there. I'm gonna cut probably most of it off before I start actually working the handle. So, but how do we know that this side, if I router half of it out of this side and we can put pins through first, how do I know then that this is the same on that piece? This is the biggest problem, because it could be here, it could be there, it could be in a different angle. Just 1 degree really makes all the difference. So, and this is where we get to my jig over there. Now just remember the triangle, and I'm going to bring you right back to my drill press. And this is what it looks like here on the drill press. Just make sure that you have some sufficient actually support underneath the table. If you put your clamps just on the metal, they could vibrate loose. Use some sort of wood, doesn't really matter. Just make sure it spans from a straight edge here to a straight edge over there, and it's not like cocked going into the table, because this cross members there are brackets. They're a little bit lower than the outside edge. That's all. And then we're going to see how I actually got these two edges parallel. Well, not necessarily parallel, but at least matching the piece we're working on. And what you have basically in the back here should be sufficient to support the length of your handle, and of course also in the front. And this is how I got it set up to make sure actually it matches my piece here. So I put one fence down first here, then I put my workpiece down, and then I put some 280 grit sandpaper there in between my workpiece and that fence, and also in the back here. And the reason I don't use regular papers, I believe a regular piece of paper is 2/1000 of an inch, which is not really a lot. And these pieces they're still kind of rough and uneven on the edges. So 2000s doesn't really give you a lot to play with. So I use these, and then of course I bolted this one down, and then you just take it out, and there's just a little, it's just a hair space really, which shouldn't really affect anything. So this goes through all the way nicely. You don't want it too tight. If you start pushing harder and harder and friction is holding it enough, all of a sudden it gives at some point and you go fast, so you might overshoot it. So this is that. Now, how do we know that we do this exactly the same way? That one. Here I have some marks. Actually, this is where my handle stops. I just added another 1/4 inch. This is a 1/4 inch straight bit. You shouldn't do that with a drill bit. It's not going to work. A drill bit has a tip on it. It's going to go in further till it gets flattened out, and that just takes beef away from your handle. And eventually, even if you sand it through, it's going to show you got a hole. You got to start all over. Also, another reason why you have 2 fences here. You want to have that absolutely under control. If that router, if you wouldn't have this fence and the router catches fiber here, you're not going to be able to control it again. It's going to run off. It's going to run off to the side, this side or this side, and your piece is finished. You're going to start all over. So you're going to feed this one through that way. So how do we know the other one is exactly the same? We don't have any marks except where we want to stop. So this is pretty easy. Let me go to the other side. Now remember what I said with those triangles. This is the way it was together. This is the way we want to keep it. So this one, the open side goes in first. This is what we router first, right along the first edge. Now this one we need in the same spot, exactly the same. So what we do is, just imagine this is down in the router and routed out. You take this one, now watch, just bring it over. Once this is routed, take it off. Bring this one in and feed it that way to your stop point. And this will exactly match our second piece. This one goes in this way, that one you router that way. This is the second reason why we need 2 fences. To have this one under control and to have this one under control. Okay, that was that. Gotta change sides again. How do we set it up? Pretty easy. Get this one down on the crank. You bring it up. We know our piece was a 3/16 heavy. So you go in here. I started already a little bit. Here, so you just go up. I mean, the point is just to get you the idea. I'm sure you can figure it out by yourself from this point on. Let's go up a little bit more. I gotta find the perfect depth. So now we want to go along this line first, but stay on the inside of the line to make it tight, because the outside of the line is already bigger than the total width of what you just marked. So you need to stay on the inside. You can always rerouter it. So just go over a little bit. This is your pivot point. Right down. So I have my drill press, the setting on the highest. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, reset by turning the table a little bit and going right next to our existing groove. We don't change the height or depth anymore, we just go over, spin with the full width again. This should be sufficient. We start again. It seems it gave by twisting it a little bit, so I just go up a level. The other half while you weren't watching, just to save you some time. Now we're going to readjust the second one, and just to show you, see those two triangles here, and if you put that together, it matches really good. This is what we want, so in the end, that's going to look like that, and your knife shaft will fit right in here. It's probably going to need some fine-tuning, really fine-tuning, which I don't want to spend your time doing that, but you get the idea. And that's the other one. It's the rest. We want to be within this line here. Pick it up again. Bring it over. Lock. See where we are. Going up a little bit too. panels, and this is what it is now. So this is the bottom, this is the top. I just moved you over from the drill press over here, so nothing really happened in between. So if you can actually chamfer these edges a little bit, it probably makes it easier to go in those mortises, or no, maybe some fine tuning, just take another hair off, but not more. But look at this, so it really doesn't want to go in by itself here. But you know what, if I bring this, I'll bring this on here in a slight angle, and this is a pretty good tight fit. This is what you want. So I'm gonna adjust these edges here and fine tune it a little bit. I have enough space here to actually finish off the shape on this side. Before you glue it all back together, you figure your shape, you do it, and you're going to finish this side first, because that way you're not interfering with the polished metal here anymore. So this side of your handle has to be finished, I think. This is the way I would do it, before you actually glue it back together. So now in this one we know it fits. Look at the triangle, and it goes right on. I can beat that together probably. Let's see. You're probably going to use clamps anyway, but here again it doesn't want to go all the way together, so it still needs a little bit of fine tuning to make it a little bit easier to get it all together. But now you get how it works, right? So if you can take this apart, okay, it's really tight. So now at this point then, once you finish this off the side, wait till you finish this off, put it back together the way it belongs. Finish this to shape the way you want. Finish this till it's ready for whatever, staining or clear coating or whatever the case may be. And then by that time, that probably shortens the distance here also. Make sure maybe that the back of that handle actually hits the back here. It's just a little bit an extra safety, so it won't slide down on you, so you have about 1/4 of an inch actually to play with it and get it all right. And once you're there and it's in and it can't move anymore and both sides are the same, then you just drill your cross members through, which in this case is a 3/8 dowel, which is a little bit heavier than the hole itself. I'm just going to take the dowel, beat it through that hole with a hammer and let it stick out maybe 1/8 or 3/16. This way it's a perfect match to the hole. Drill it in, or actually router it in, with the same drill press with a 3/8 router. I pre-drill it first with a 3/8 drill bit through the original hole, so I know exactly where the holes are in the handle. Then I take it off, bring it over to my drill press, and then I use a straight 3/8 router bit and just go straight in, about 3/16 on this side. We repeat it the same on that side, and then we know this is 100% match. The holes are 100% match. The mortise is 100% match, and the grain is 100% match. This is how you end up with something like that. Alright everybody, while you were sleeping, I took the liberty and put it all back together, and I shaped it, and I put some finish on, which I want to show you is actually a wax. It's not min wax. I don't really like that. But this is about what it looks like after you're done sanding it. I use that 220 Norton. I don't really go that much finer, except maybe for some of these really shiny envelope openers. I go down to 400. But this, I don't know what the back of that paper is, but it's very, very durable, and you're gonna use that for a long time. And I'm working on this probably for 2 years already. It's amazing how that still works, how sharp it still is. I did that whole handle here, for example, and actually most of my envelope openers. This is just a fraction here, what you see, and you can put it on with your finger or a brush. It doesn't even have to be clean. An old sock or something. It doesn't have to be lint-free or specifically clean or whatever. You name it. All those limitations with all these other finishes. And look how this pops. The color and the grain of any wood. It's unbelievable. And then once it's dry, depending on the temperature, it dries a little bit faster or slower, and humidity. This wax actually is made for hardwood floors, for example, to maintain it and polish them off. You can use it on linoleum, cork, plastics, stone, clay, to maintain your furniture, and even sealed floors. You can use that to repolish. And then here comes the trick, what I really like. First of all, easy to apply, of course. If I can, I use my finger. If you use a cloth or whatever the case may be, no, you've got to fill all these fibers first. So you're losing actually material in the can. So now look at this. I mean, you can almost polish it with your finger already. And you can see a difference, how it shines. So you go ahead with your old little sock there. I would recommend washing it first. But look how that shines already. It doesn't take much. And if it gets a little bit, if it should get dull in the future, you can just repolish it. Or as you use it, you're probably just polishing it with your fingers anyway. I mean, look at this, how that shine comes up. And you don't need like 5 coats if you want something really good with polyurethane or lacquer or whatever, and wait 12 hours and then sand it down lightly and respray and stink up your whole house and everything. I mean, look at this. This is so user-friendly. And then you have these like nooks and crannies, especially if you do carvings. You can polish that. So you just really use your brush, go over it, and it immediately starts to shine. You can get in all these nooks and crannies there. It's not waterproof, so you can't really use it in a wet cell. If you have like wood in your bathroom or so, it's not recommended. But you can wash everything with a damp cloth. It will hold up to that. Alright, and this is the most dirty brush I could actually find in my wood drawer, or my wood tool drawer. See what good job it does. How shiny it is all of a sudden. And then just go over it. Alright, what do you think? And if it ever gets dull, no matter what, there's no run, there's no overdoing it, there's no overlapping marks, nothing. You can just take more and just rub it on here, wait till it's dry and polish it again, and you won't see a difference. This stuff is really awesome. Okay, this is it. Do we want to take that blue tape off? It probably needs a little bit more polishing now. Let's just take it off. See the whole thing. It's not high polished. I'm probably going to leave it brushed, just because it's not a perfect blade anyway, so I'm hoping that the brush defect hides a couple of things. Don't forget to like if you like, and subscribe. Any comments are really welcome. I'm happy to answer any questions. Alright, there you go. I like this this effect here. This is really just made with a file, but I like the look of it. I wish I could do the whole blade like that. That would be really cool. So you can see actually some scratches here. I'm gonna polish that out. There's no secondary or micro bevel on that yet. This is really just from the sandpaper I used, and it's already really very sharp. Gotta be careful. I'm not sure if I'd put a micro bevel on. It's really just for looks and not for use. Alright guys, that's it. That's about the handle. Do you like? I hope. I hope it was entertaining. It took a while, but I just tried to show all the steps. And thank you so much for watching. Take care and have fun making knives and handles. Take care. Hello ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the fishing reel again and knife making. Today I want to talk about handles, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Any comments are really welcome, because I think through comments on YouTube or internet in general, we can learn from each other. So let's get to it. I noticed that a lot of knife handles are made. If you imagine that this is your blade, your rough blade, and then you put your wood left and right. Of course you drill your holes through first. You use this side, drill through, right, then put it aside, put the next one on. Just make sure it's aligned here all the way around. You drill the other one through, it's fine, and then it's going to end up something like that, where actually the metal of your handle or your raw knife is exposed, and you start shaving it. So it really doesn't matter if the grain matches up or not, except of course in the front it has to be the same. And then you just beat your brass cross members through, and this is your handle. So let's forget about this idea for now. What if you want something like that? The dagger I made earlier. You want the grain actually to match, and as you can see, the width of the blade is the same than the width of the handle. So I made this handle earlier for my Tachima pull saw. See, the idea is the same. The handle gets actually inlaid, or let's say that the metal part of the handle of the saw gets inlaid in a new wooden handle. Okay. So what I found is, first of all, you probably need to notch that out a little bit. On this one, I actually notched all 4 sides, or they are reset, I guess you can say, reset. So this I did only on 2 sides. I think it's enough. Makes the handle really heavy. It's a long blade, and I'm probably going to go with a bigger, longer handle anyway. So I have this piece of wood. It's a piece of curly mahogany. I don't know if you can actually specifically order that, but if you order mahogany, every once in a while you get those fancy pieces. Now notice I have a triangle there, or a pyramid. So I know this piece, was one piece at some point. I just put it through my bandsaw, and see if you clamp this hard enough, the seam is almost invisible. This seam is always visible, but you have to make sure that it's really the same all the way around. It can be this or that, like you would get. In this case, it doesn't really matter if one sticks up or down, or is a little bit off. But in this case, if you want something like that, you really need to stick with the grain. It cannot be off this way, that way, or this way, or any way at all. Otherwise it won't fit anymore. Your cut won't fit, and the seam is more visible at the end. So how did we do this? And for that I'm going to bring you over to the drill press. Just hold on a second.